A sanctions threat is looming over India. From whom? The European Union. Their complaint remains the same as before, that Indian firms are helping Russia. Let me explain. Brussels has drawn up sanctions against 21 new entities. Some are in Thailand, some are in Sri Lanka and some in Turkey, but the focus is not on those firms. Because this list also includes 3 Chinese companies and 1 Indian company. And why is that important? Because until now, no Indian or Chinese firm has been hit by sanctions, not over the war in Ukraine. But this proposal could change that. It's already been prepared by EU officials. The next step is for the members to approve it. If every member agrees, these sanctions will be imposed. Now you can expect a result before the 24th of February. That's the anniversary of Russia's invasion. And this move raises 2 questions. 1, what have these companies done? And 2, how will the sanctions affect them? The details are not clear yet, but this is what the EU document says, and I'm quoting, "It is appropriate to include on that list certain other entities in third countries that directly support Russia's military and industrial complex." So that's the charge. Maybe these companies are selling electrical goods or maybe spare parts. A lot of them have dual use, meaning they have commercial and military value. That's dual use. So the EU wants to deter that trade. Now to the second question, how will the sanctions affect these companies? Europe will stop dealing with them. No trade, no exchanges, no market access. It could be a big blow to these firms. India hasn't officially reacted to the news, but we understand that New Delhi is studying these reports. They're also seeking clarity. European officials are visiting India next week for the Raisina dialogue organized by the Ministry of External Affairs, and chances are that this issue will be raised there. But let's look at the big picture here. What is Europe's policy against Russia? It's very confusing because they still buy stuff from Russia, and a lot of it. In 2023, Russian exports to the EU were worth $85 billion. Russian exports to the European Union, $85 billion. I know what Brussels will say. The trade is 68% down compared to 2022, which is fair. The EU is trying to cut it down. But look at India's trade with Russia. The total is worth just $50 billion. Now, do you see the difference? 85 billion imports versus 50 billion total. Yet somehow, India is helping the Russian war machine. We've heard of boy math and girl math. Well, this is Euro math for you. I've got more examples. Europe is now buying a lot of refined oil products from India. It was 111,000 barrels in 2022. It's now 231,000 barrels. That's a 115% rise in imports. Now you may think, what's wrong with that? They're not buying from Russia. They're buying from India. Well, think again. India gets almost 40% of its crude oil from Russia. It is refined here, converted into different products, and then exported to the world. So chances are Europe's imports from India have Russian crude in them. What has Brussels done about that? Nothing so far. I guess it's all fair when oil is involved or gas. Russia still makes up 15% of Europe's gas imports. That's pipeline gas plus LNG. EU ports also help resell some of this. Yet somehow India is the one that's helping Russia. The double standard is quite evident. Let's call these sanctions what they really are, an attempt to hide Europe's own failures. There are some 19,000 sanctions on Russia, 19,000. Virtually every industry in Russia has been hit. Yet, the Russian economy is growing. Their GDP was 3.6% up last year. That's higher than countries like Germany and Britain. Plus, the war is not going anywhere. Military aid is stuck in the US Congress. President Zelensky is at odds with his army. The top general has already been fired and the battlefield is frozen. So what you're seeing is desperation. The attempt to do something on the war's second anniversary. That's what this is about, but it could backfire. Both China and India are key markets. The India-EU trade is $135 billion. The China-EU trade is almost $1 trillion. Does Brussels want to upset that equation? We'll find out in the coming days.